All right, let's go ahead and get started. This is our first AMA for a few months. It's been quite some time. I don't know, ZX, when was the last time we had a AMA? I've forgotten.
Yeah, it was November 22nd.
It's been a long time, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, so, well, first of all, thank you everybody for joining. Appreciate it, and looking forward to today's discussion. If you've got questions, please go ahead and post them in the Q&A channel, and we'll address them there. But wanted to catch everybody up on where we're at. So back last time we had an AMA, we had the protocol launched for some time, and we're transitioning over to working on the assurance NFTs. We're quite excited about the assurance NFT design and where that was going. We ended up taking on a NFT project around the same time that we figured was going to help us flesh out the design for assurance NFTs in a way that would allow us to be buttoned up, solid, and successful with implementing secure and reliable assurance NFTs, partially because what we were trying to implement with this NFT project was rather complex, just like assurance NFTs are. It's turned out that that project continues to go on. It's going well, and was definitely a good primer for assurance NFTs. That was a good choice. But some of the challenges that we've dealt with, I want to actually talk today about some of those. And I think that everybody here should probably find that most of these challenges are pretty familiar, right? If you think back through from the end of 2021 until now, and keep in mind the design of PANA as a whole, there's been some interesting, pretty significant impacts that have impacted the market. And I would argue the largest has been FTX and the fraud that was there with FTX that kind of the regulators were not watching or helping take care of. He had some similar plays happening with Celsius, BlockFi, and Voyager. Again, poor regulatory oversight. And then we had Euros Capital, which is a hedge fund, just blow up as well, which kind of precipitated a lot of this. Terra Luna, which I did not list on here directly, but what you can see there under many protocols is had some serious impacts in the space as well. And just generally a lack of clarity across the industry, I think, has had a big impact. And why is this important? Well, all of these failures, on the whole, are, perhaps aren't that big of a deal, except when, if I go on to the next slide, they impact us by making it difficult for us to be able to get clarity on yield. Our protocol is contingent completely on yield. And that yield, when it's impacted by somebody that's going backwards here, like FTX, who's running a fraud, or by Terra Luna, which I think the more we see, the more we can tell that it was clearly a fraud, then the more difficult it is for us to be able to choose a protocol that we're convinced is going to lead to safe yield for the protocol itself to generate enough upside that when there's a person who wants to make a claim, that they're going to be able to make that claim and feel secure, and not only that their funds are secure, but that they are having the type of claim coverage that they need. All of our claim coverage was based on yield, and those yield calculations on some of the OG protocols are not sufficient to be able to enable us to be able to offer the types of claims that, or at least claim coverage that we'd like to be able to offer. And so it has impacted us significantly. And so the timing was good, actually, that we took on that NFT project, because this is really there had already been quite a bit of impact, to say the least, in the marketplace. But then to have FTX blow up just shortly afterwards, after we started that NFT project, was actually good timing. I'm glad we had this little bit of a buffer period, because FTX, I think, that the greatest lack of clarity amongst all of them. And actually, we've got somebody who's not on mute, so if you could go on mute, that'd be great. Thanks. So after talking here with the team about what we're looking to do, based on the fact that there's still not clarity about where yield is going to go, given the fact that there's still regulatory uncertainty, we were hoping globally that some of that clarity would settle, particularly, like, for example, in the EU, where some very good legislation has been put forward. Some of the other jurisdictions around the world have done a very good job of preparing, I think, some very good, at least above zero, it's very good clarity. But within the United States, unfortunately, it's actually gotten much worse with turf battles that are going on, as opposed to taking care of the individuals or the businesses that are trying to play here. What we've decided to do in this environment is to go into a hibernation mode. We're going to continue our NFT designs as a protocol. We believe in the protocol. We believe in assurance NFTs in particular and what they can bring, because they are a truly unique way of leveraging NFTs. But as a protocol, we're going to go into hibernation to wait for some additional regulatory clarity. We do know that MiCA will be in the EU, will be put into signature next month. That will help. We also believe that yield stability will occur, since most of the fraud is washed out of the system, and we'll be able to then do our recalculate our ability to be able to provide coverage based on stable yields for emoji protocols that have been proven the test of time, and then come back at this in a way that I think will bring the same kind of results that we've talked about for way over a year now, and what we I think all believe in, which is being able to help those who have a need, that they can get coverage, because it's virtually impossible to get coverage with many of these, with just about any traditional insurance, especially the further you are down the monetary hierarchy, right? So those are the next steps. How long are we going to be in hibernation? Good question. And we have to wait and see how the year plays out. It's I do think that with MiCA being signed into law, that will help a lot, and probably accelerate things around the world in a way that will bring clarity to everybody, and then allow us to be able to play into a framework. I think that will work nicely. As you can see on our website, we have a very clear legal framework for how we operate that allows us to be able to operate safely and within compliance. But ideally, we would actually see some of that globally as well, given that I know a lot of people who want to participate certainly are located around the globe. So hibernation could be from now until the middle of the year. It could be from now for another year before we decide to jump back in. Like I said, in the meantime, we're working on these NFT designs. These designs are more than just designs. They're actually being put into production. So we've got a number of things going into production. They are sophisticated. They're programmatic. They're assurance NFTs when we circle back. But in the meantime, the protocol itself will go where the protocol goes in terms of valuation on the open market. We never intended PANA to be anything other than a token of exchange to be able to help facilitate liquidity in the market. And so we'll see where the protocol goes. The good news is that when we seeded the initial liquidity pool, the size of the pool was quite small, given that we were just getting started. And so once we're ready to come back at this, we can recharge the pool and go from there. And like I said, that will probably be as much as a year or more from now, depending upon where things go from a yield stability and regulatory clarity standpoint. So that's where we are right now. It's been quite a journey. I appreciate everybody following this journey, and I think the journey still is not completely written. I anticipate that this is going to break open. We know this is an untapped unlock for this space, and so we'll continue to be there as and participate in that. And I think it will be unlocked here within the next few quarters. At which point we're going to be able to jump back in and get this thing built and build something pretty exciting for everybody that's safe, not rife with the kind of fraud that existed here when we talk about some of these, with some people who really want to do good for humanity. Of course, there'll always be frauds there too, but I think it's easier to identify who they are now than in the past. So with that, maybe I'll open it up for questions and see if we have any. Yeah, so we do have one there. We've got a question about LRO. Hopefully the um, answers that I just gave around LRO are ones that people can feel comfortable with. That we're in the holding pattern for now with LRO. And that we will then, from LRO, sorry, I'm just reading the questions as they come in. With LRO, we can circle back to those probably in about a year's time after we get some of that greater regulatory clarity and some yield stability. Everything here is contingent on having that in place. And I think, C-Note, thanks for posting your questions. I think the way I've answered the questions here help a lot, right, with answering those questions. They pretty much address most of those, and I appreciated you posting those yesterday ahead of the meeting. Thank you. Is there any one of those there that I've maybe missed? If you want to maybe just cut and paste one that you think I could do a better job of answering, you're welcome to do so. By going into hibernation, I think most of those are, and hibernation for reasons that you've highlighted in those questions, I think help with clarifying both the answers as well as where we're going. Yeah, good question. So if you don't mind, let's set up another AMA as soon as we put those into production. And the question was for those of you not in the Q&A channel, whether or not we could get a sneak peek to the designed NFTs. For anybody who's been hanging out here in the channels, you can see that the team is often logged into Discord. It's because that's what we're working on. And yes, we'd love to be able to show that. So, but give us just a few weeks. We're actually doing our production launch during the week of NFTLA. And that production launch, I think, will be a real opportunity to be able to showcase. And then maybe after NFTLA, we can sit down here and have an AMA on those designed NFTs and what they do. We are coming at this from a first principles perspective, just like we came at assurance NFTs and PANA from a first principles perspective. In this case, there's no tokens involved other than ERC 721s, 1155s for the most part. There's a little bit of ERC 20s out there, but for the most part, it's NFT focused. And would certainly love to present that to those who are interested. So give us a couple weeks just to get into production at FTLA, and we can circle back and do some sneak peeks into not only what we showed at NFTLA, but where we're going. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you. Yeah, and CC knows typing again, but Zedex, would you want to add anything to what I mentioned?
Nope. But I also have one question,
Sure.
and I think it's fine to discuss it on MA. So regarding Hibernate mode, should we proceed and continue to offer bonds, or what do you think on that front, and what else would be a meaning of hibernate mode.
Yeah, I think for now, let's go ahead and continue to offer those. I don't see any reason why not. The bonds themselves allow people to be able to accrue slowly those tokens so that when we recharge, those who want to stick with the protocol who would be able to help us with restarting and getting involved with getting this thing off the ground. The rate of inflation on the protocol is actually very low. And the way that the protocol works enables it to keep that inflation to a low degree, especially once there's greater utility for the token itself with assurance NFTs. And so my recommendation would be that we just continue to run that for now. And regardless where the liquidity pool goes, people can still accumulate. And we'll see where it develops. So like I said, I think that once we have greater clarity in those areas where we need it to be able to safely move forward with the protocol design, then I think that those who have continued to participate in the bonds would be able to be people who we can reach out to and work with to be able to restart the project.
It sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else from the team want to chime in with their thoughts? Typically a pretty silent group,
Yeah, sure, guys. Bindusara. Just wanted to uh, say that one good thing leads to another, and I think PANA is the one which brought us all, which took us all together in the NFT project, and I think our success in that NFT project will help us increase the community members here in PANA, and I think that would help PANA even better.
I completely agree with that. And I do think there's some opportunities to be able to, with the project that we're working on right now, have that be something that will have some synergies here as well. For example, there's nothing preventing us from having an experience passport for PANA and doing some interesting and fun things there that would be exciting, I think, for the community. So excited to give the sneak peek here. Like I said, we want to get to NFTLA first, but we can get some sneak peeks into where things are going. I think people will find it pretty fun and exciting, and definitely something they've not seen before. Very similar to Assurance NFT in the sense that it will be first principles. So truly, this has been, like I said, and as you mentioned, Bindusara, it's been quite the journey. Appreciate everybody being with us through this, and hopefully this journey is going to continue. Just going to sleep for a little while. All right, good. Well, I think that was all the content I had. I wanted to make sure everybody was up to date on where we stood. Very proud of what we've accomplished as a team, and look forward to staying in touch with everybody here as we go through this kind of hibernation cycle, and watch and see what happens. So, like I said, I'm sure that there'll be a lot more clarity by the end of the year with where things are going. I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing even in the United States, with some of the legislators finally becoming active and taking a more responsible role as opposed to what we've seen up till date. And hopefully they'll be able to reel in some of the regulatory behavior there, and allow the regulators to actually play the kind of role that they should be playing as opposed to what they are today, and more closely aligning with what we're seeing in some of the other jurisdictions around the world where they're being very helpful. And of course, that will then lead to more stability across the marketplaces, which will be good for all of us. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close the AMA, but please feel comfortable posting your questions in the Q&A channel, and we will get answers to those. And yeah, thank you, everybody. This has been fantastic. More to come, but expect the updates to be at a slow pace, just like they have been for the last couple of months, as we stay heads down. And I was requested to, we'll see if we can't get some more sneak peeks out there on the project that we're working on right now and keep everybody up to speed on that. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.